Hearty shalom to you, Jeffrey Seif here. What I want to do this week in this segment is finish up on the 24th chapter of Acts. We're in verse 22, and Paul is engaged in a disputation. Religious leaders are hammering him. He is before Felix the governor, giving an account of what he's all about in the wake of a riot and arrest and so forth. We're told in verse 22 that the protestations of the Judean leaders noted in verse 9 aside, Felix has savvy. He's familiar with Jewish ways, as Paul has noted, and he knows something about the way, particularly according to the text. We're told in verse 22 that he had a rather excellent or extensive knowledge of the way. Interestingly, Christianity goes by different names today. Yesterday, there were different names. Ebionites was one of the names, meaning the poor. They were referred to as the Nazarenes was a common name, and an early name as well was the Way. Interesting. Today, First Baptist, Second Baptist, Lutherans, Methodists, named after people or perspectives. But in any case, I'm not saying that we all do well to go back. Relative to this, to call the ministry the Way certainly doesn't comport with modern sensibilities, because it sounds a bit direct and forceful, not very ecumenical. The Way. There seems to be a premium on this as the way. People don't abide that today, but the Bible is the Bible and the truth is the truth. We're told that Felix put off the people. We're told that in verse 23 that he was rather kindly disposed toward Paul. Now, he left him languish for 2 years. We'll read this as we follow through in the story. And we have a doctrine in American jurisprudence called habeas corpus. You bring the body, you decide the matter. You don't let people languish in dungeons. Paul here has been taken to Caesarea Maritime, and he's going to languish for the longest, even though Festus here is kindly disposed, if you will, and you'll see in a moment that he beckons Paul, wants to conversate with him, but Paul's not free to go. He's detained. Granted that he's going to make some comfortable provisions. We're told in verse 23 specifically that orders were given that he should be kept in custody, but granted some freedom, and not to prevent his friends from coming and attending to his needs. So he had food staples and access to people, but he wasn't free to go. We're told in verse 24, in time, Felix came with his wife Drusilla. She was Jewish. And he sends for Paul then to conversate with him some more. And, he has power, and here's a man that's, he's not free to go. And we're told that he gets him, and Paul has opportunity. We're told to talk about faith in Messiah Yeshua. Not simply referencing to talk about faith, not just the death, the burial, and the resurrection. We're told that he was giving voice to issues associated with righteousness, self-control, and the coming judgment. I don't know to what extent those things get any traction in the modern world or in the modern church. Much as referring to Christianity as the way is out of vogue, because we want to be so very ecumenical and tolerant of everything and anything. Similarly, to speak of righteousness, self-control, and a coming judgment. It seems to me a lot of religious language today is felt needs designed to make the church attractive so that more people will come, as opposed to going to the one down the street, because God knows the bills need to get paid. I don't want to sound insensitive to bills needing to get paid, but come on, look at the literature. Paul spoke to issues that hardly come up today. I don't mind if Christianity is called by different names today, but we'd be better if righteousness, self-control, and the coming judgment were voiced, it seems to me. Well, in the wake of that, Felix, we're told, became afraid and said, "Go away for now, I'll talk to you later." And I get that. A lot of people are discomforted. Now, what's interesting is Paul's on trial, and he's not trying to, make it all easy. He is speaking directly. He's even the person who's his interlocutor, his conversation partner. He's willing to deal with tough issues, and the guy's thrown on his heels. We're told as well in verse 26 that at the same time, while Felix is there, while Paul is held, Luke tells us he was hoping that money would be given by Paul. It's interesting, you're interred and you're waiting for a bribe. That's common in antiquity, by the way, completely unacceptable in modernity. Corrupt political process. Here's someone that's interred on trumped up charges. He's used to take away the boredom of the person who has authority over him, who wants to speak to him, about religious issues and then shoos him away. But even with all of that, Luke tells us he was hoping to get some money. I don't know how Luke would know that, what was in his mind, save the fact that Felix would have conversated with someone who would come to faith, who Luke got information that way. Again, I don't know how information leaks out, but we are told that there's corruption here. This person was hoping to get money to free Paul. It didn't happen. We're told he sent for him frequently and would talk with him, but after 2 years had passed, Felix was succeeded by Festus, and wishing to do the Judean leaders a favor, Paul was left in prison. Again, friends like him, who needs enemies? It just drags on and on and on. When you look at the life walking with the Lord, sometimes you're in the grip of something that's unfair, but it just doesn't go away on the quick. It's not like you turn on TV, you see Benny Hinn, you put your hand on the TV screen, and all of a sudden, presto, the trial's all gone because Benny looked your way or called out a word of knowledge. No, I'm not, again, I don't want to, being a little cynical now, but don't over-relate to it. I do believe that the Lord can vanquish trials. While I know that he can do that on the spot, I also know that he doesn't always do it that way. And the reason why I know that is because we're told that in the Bible. And people say, if I can get prayed up and do this and that, and then I can get the victory. Well, listen, this is Paul the Apostle. I mean, this is the greatest kitty in the New Testament litter, save Jesus himself. I mean, this is the go-to guy, has a lot of ink in the New Testament, that's telling his story. A lot of pages, more than anybody else. And so I think the guy's got something going for him in a religious sense. But even still, with that, he got jammed up and it didn't go away on the quick. I'm sure he's praying, Lord, please. God has his reasons to keep him there. What's going to happen is he's going to appeal to Caesar and he's going to be spirited away to Rome. He's not going to get out of it on the quick. But God has his plans. I mean, he does what he does. Some of you might find yourself on occasion, I know I do, in less than hoped for circumstances. But keep your faith up. Keep walking with the Lord, whatever his assignment is. You might say, well, this is Paul, a real important guy, and he's got a lot of important things to do. Yeah, get hauled in and out of a cell to conversate with someone who's reasonably indifferent towards you, who's hoping to get a bribe out of you. This doesn't sound to me like, the lifestyle of the rich and famous. I mean, Paul is in this for quite a while, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So listen, God has his ways. He uses circumstances to strengthen us, and he's using all this to get Paul where he wants him to go, to Rome. Paul had written a letter previously, I'm hoping to get to Rome. Well, I don't know that Paul planned it this way, but he's getting a trip to Rome courtesy of the empire. More on that when I come back. Jeffrey Seif signing out. God bless.